Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. Hope you guys are enjoying the rain. It's pretty crazy out there. Tianhong, do you mind closing the door? Thank you. Alright, welcome back. So, your assignment was due Sunday. If you used an extension for it, no shame in using an extension already. If you still have problems with your assignment 1 and you have some questions, I'm going to stick around after class. So feel free to ask me. I'll try to help you as much as I can. We're going to have regular office hours starting this week. All the TAs just need to help me finalize and everything. So, but we will start office hours this week. Just keep an eye out for a Piazza post. Alright, so let's get started. So today we're going to do more with CSS. I know there's a lot of fancy words here. CSS compound, selectors, displays, positions. But ultimately, we're going to just be doing more with CSS today. And we're really going to get into some of the more trickier, not trickier, but a little more advanced stuff. But before we do that, let's talk about floats real quick, because I know floats, we did touch upon it on Wednesday, but it's kind of hard to wrap your head around just because it's just it's very strange. But you have to, in your assignment, you have to use floats to make your sidebar and the main content float next to each other, right? So I want to do a quick float recap, and then I'm going to show you, just quickly hit some of the things we are going to talk about today. But again, like, my slides are more for your reference. Like, you feel free to read them later if you're more of like a person that likes to read slides. I will leave them up here, but I'm going to go through the slides a little quickly, because ultimately all the real lessons come out when we code together. Oh, speaking of what we're coding today, we're gonna make something like this. We're gonna make a wannabe Coachella page, very simplified, of course. I was looking at their website. It was actually very nice. But I got some inspiration, like this gradient. I got inspired by their current website. Anyway, so we're gonna make this little thing here. Key things that we're gonna talk about today is like these. Notice how I can hover now. A very simple interaction. Nice, yeah, ooh, right? Very simple stuff, very subtle stuff, but it does make like your web page feel more, I don't know, live or something. Notice how when I hover, like we see like this little date pop up on the top right corner. And notice how, key thing here, notice how the white is actually on top, like it's overlapping my image, right? So far we've only really talked about how do we make things go from top to bottom, left to right. But now we're going to go to like our third dimension, our z-axis, if you will. We're going to talk about how to put things on top of each other. Okay, so you can kind of see that there. And just because practicing is good, we're going to talk about how I made these 3 columns go next to each other like this, and how they're horizontal rows. We're going to just do that again, just to really nail that down. You see these like little random red, orange things. We're going to talk about that in a bit as well. So that's kind of what we're aiming for today. And all this is done with CSS. Most of the CSS is doing all the hard work here. We're still not using JavaScript or anything like that. So that's what we're doing. All right, let's talk about floats. So, let's talk about how to put columns next to each other. So like I've mentioned many times, HTML and CSS, we're always building things top to bottom. We call this the normal flow, how we go from top to bottom. Everything stacks vertically from the header, and then it's chronological order. However, when we start wanting to do things on the y-axis, like horizontally, that's where we have some issues, because then we have to force our divs to go next to each other and to play nice and to go next to each other. That's why we use this thing called float. Let's look at float. Just talk about float one more time. That CSS property, this is called a property, right? Called float. Let's talk about that real quick. So again, floats, they help us in creating page layouts. It allows us to wrap text to wrap around floating elements. So if you recall, normally, again, everything's from top to bottom when it comes to HTML. It's very top to bottom. However, so everything's top to bottom, let's say, right? Very top to bottom. However, if you want to add an image, right? You want to add an image, again, everything's very top to bottom. However, if you want anything to go side by side, if you want the text to go right next to the image, that's where floats come in very handy. So notice up here how I have image, float left, right, float left. By doing that, what happens is that's what float slides possible. So this after the image, it's gonna image. Right? How when we're talking each other and so we're using these kind of as we're using for our coming up here. When we talk clearing float, go back to float. Slide exam differently, but done clear float, normal float anymore. Everything about our Coachella page. Back here. Just want to talk about this already. Div margin, another word. However, if you do there, sometimes you watch out for them. All right, actually, rules already. We used to do things good at two. Select about that. This is just reference. Hover is with element. Let's skip over now. We're use and we'll, again, these are also in the slides for you, just if you want to. Yeah. Cool. All right, so a lot more CSS and seeing what other things CSS can do. All right, let's get started then. If you could open up your Sublime text. Oops, I closed it. And go ahead and create a new file. File new. Okay. And let's go ahead and save. Let's start by saving all this stuff before we even do anything. So let's see. Okay. All right. Sorry, let me just change this over real quick. So in your ITP 303 folder, or whatever folder you're using to save your stuff, okay, I'm gonna go ahead. All right, so in your ITP 303 or wherever you're doing, I've realized I think I'm just gonna create another folder. I'm gonna call this one like lecture 3 or something, more CSS. And in this folder is where I'm gonna save. So I'm actually adding one more layer here. All right. I'm doing this on purpose because what I'm doing is I am syncing this to. Let me show you. So when we're done with today's class, the code that when we're done, I'm gonna be putting on something. I'm gonna be uploading all the code on something called GitHub. In GitHub, you're gonna be able to see actually in this one repository, you're gonna be able to see a list of all the folders. So it's gonna be very easy for you to look at your code. And for example, if I click on today at Coachella.html, I'm gonna see all of my code, lecture code here. So I think it's easier for you to access. You can kind of see what we did that day. Anyway. Back to here. So in my Finder, I'm just creating another folder, and in here is where I'm going to add all my files. I'm also going to create another folder in here called images because we're going to download some images as well. All right, so that's today's. We're going to put everything in lecture 3 today. Okay, and once you kind of have that set up, go ahead and let's go and save that file before I even do anything else. I'm going to save it. I'm going to call this. Yeah, Coachella.html, I guess. Coachella.html. Alrighty. And then, so this is all under our lecture notes today. If you click on that CodePen link, there's a bunch of code. You're going to see a bunch of code on the left-hand side. This is all starter code that I have given you. So we're going to copy that. Copy, and paste. Okay, it's a bunch of stuff here. It's going to save this. Okay, so and then once you got that, there's 3 images we're going to be working with today. It's the 3 artist images. Okay, so it's going to download that as well. So there's 3 of them. So we'll just go save image as, and yeah. So we're gonna which one am I in? Okay, images. Yeah, just go save them. Save. Okay. Oh, I was going to show you something. So notice that these images, I purposely am choosing images right now that all have the same kind of like width and height. This is kind of on purpose. It just it's going to make my life a little easier. But when you're working on your assignment or lab, if you run into problems with images, sometimes the best way to fix it is it's not your code's problem. Sometimes you just got to open a Photoshop or some kind of graphic tool that you're familiar with. Maybe GIMP. GIMP is free if you don't want to pay for Photoshop, and then you can use that to crop some photos. But anyway, that's the topic for another day. Images can sometimes kind of mess up your code, so just be wary of that. All right. So once I got the images saved, the HTML saved, now I should be able to see this on the browser. Let's go ahead and right-click somewhere on the browser, on the text editor, and click Open in Browser, and now we should see it. Hooray! Okay, and you should see something like this. It's not quite formatted as we'd like, but it's there. Okay. Then let me go ahead and move this over here and move this over here, just so you guys can see both on both. Okay. Wow, fascinating. I'll give you just about a minute just to make sure you got everything working. Okay, and just because there were a couple new students here, I just want to point out, can our TAs raise their hand real quick? So TAs are right behind you. Sophia and Tianhong are right behind you. And so at any part of this lecture, if you get stuck somewhere, just kind of wave your hand at them. Just, kind of like do this, and they're gonna come and help you out. Okay, or you can also ask me as well, and I'll try to help you out as well. Right? Okay. So we're gonna be converting this lovely page, this page that right now doesn't look like much. We're gonna convert this into something like that looks like this, and we're gonna add some hover effects. Okay. Kind of our goal today. Okay. All right, let's take a look at this here. So before we just dive into code or anything, let's take a look at the code I've given you. I've given you the starter code for 2 reasons. Number one, of course, just to save some time, so we're not spending like 3 hours here, right? Secondly, it is a good practice to start getting familiar with how reading other people's code. And usually in school, you don't really read other people's code. You just write your own code, and that's the kind of the end of it, right? But in real life, not real life, but after you graduate, if you do end up working as some kind of developer or some kind of programmer, you will inevitably have to be reading someone else's code. So it's good practice to kind of get used to that. So let's kind of see what's going on here right now. So we know that all this is CSS. We'll leave that alone for now. Let's look at the HTML here, right? So the body, if you recall, the body represents the browser, so everything's going to be in here. I have this code's very sectioned off using divs, just like how I have done it, how I've done it on our previous lecture, where we have like a header area, right? We have header, and the header, that header has just the title Coachella in it. Right? Underneath the header is artists. It's a big chunk called artists. Okay. However, it's a little bit more involved here if you look in here. So in this big box or big div, distinct big box, we have the word artists, right? And then I have another div in here. Right? I have a div inside a div called row. All right, we don't know why yet, but I do for now. Okay, we'll find out why soon. And then in that row, we got another. So we're doing quite a bit of nesting in here. We'll have another div, and that's called artist, singular, right? And it's a class. And in this div is Ariana Grande's image here. Oh. And right below that is her name with the H3 tag. Right? So as you can see, this represents one artist. And an almost direct copy of that is the second artist here. But very similar. There's an image, and then there's some text. Right. And then the last artist as well, there's your same thing. Again, almost exact same copy. The only difference is, obviously different image and the different artist name. Okay. I wanted to draw this out for you, but there's not much space around here. So we're just going to have to kind of, understand the structure here. So this is how how I'm using divs to create a bunch of boxes to create structure here. Right now, again, it seems kind of strange why we're doing that, but bear with me for now. Okay, I know and the images are really big, so it's kind of in the way, but we'll get to that. All right, and scrolling down at the very bottom, this giant about section, I have a big div called big div here. It says ID about, and then I have another div called about inner, and in that div I have all of my information here. Okay, all right. And at the very end, of course, we have our lovely little footer at the very bottom. So again, using divs to create boxes and to create sections, and utilizing that structure. And then if we structure our content really well, when we write our CSS, it becomes very, very easy. So this is kind of the approach we're going to take. All right. Okay, now that we have that structure down, let's start looking at our CSS. The header. Right, the header. Right, the header is at the very top here. Okay, and I gave you some code already, some stuff that you might have never seen before. For example, background, I gave that gradient is this code here. Isn't that great? Like with CSS, you can do a lot of cool little visual stuff. If you want to experiment with it, feel free to do so on your own. It's pretty straightforward to learn. It's pretty easy to learn. that. Okay, we have some padding on top, right? That space padding. We have some padding on the bottom, and then everything. We have text align center, meaning everything in my header, inside my header, any text, align it to the center. That's why we have Visit Coachella in the center. Alrighty. Okay. Before I go on, there's one thing I have to address, and something that maybe have bugged you for your assignment as well. Do you guys notice like this white space around? Yeah, some of you guys seen it. Maybe some of you already Googled a way to get rid of this. Like this on this, let me zoom in, like this white edge around the border. It looks kind of, doesn't look very nice, right? For example, like my completed version, I don't have any of that white space. You see that white space? So if you're wondering why why it's there and all that, let me show you how to get rid of it. So by default, browsers come with this extra white space. It's like padding around. It just, I don't know why, but it just is. So because it's by default like that, we can't, thankfully, CSS is all about cascading, so we can override that very easily, right? So we know that the body, right, the body represents the browser. Okay, so if I do body, all right, I'm gonna just get, hey, any padding, any margin, any weird white space, all right, just kill it, just zero. We're just zeroing it out. And that, if I refresh now, it's gonna, that's gone now. All that white space is now gone. Okay, if you've Googled here and there, you might have seen something like this actually. HTML, comma, body. Okay, this is actually even better. This is where we're going to start talking about compound selectors now, how we can select more than one things. And what this means, this HTML is literally the HTML tag. So on certain browsers, I don't think Chrome is this, but I think maybe like Safari or something. There's some, like for some reason, there's some padding and margin on this HTML tag as well. That's why we're just saying, hey, both the HTML and the body tag, both a comma, okay, that means HTML and body tag, both of them, both elements, give padding 0, give margin 0. So both of these. That's what it's saying up here. That comma. So that comma is very significant. On the other hand, let's continue talking about these compound selectors a little bit. Okay, it's a better way, not better way, but another way to, a more specific way to select things. So the header, right? The header is fine. This word Coachella. Let's say I want to you know, I want the size to be a little bigger because, you know, I want it to like be in people's faces so that like it's good for branding if the font size is bigger or something. I don't know, whatever it is, right? So normally what would I do? I would just say, oh, that's H1, right? So I could just go like, oh, well, I could just do like H1 and then, you know, like font size, I don't know, like 60 pixels. I don't know, I'm just picking a number here, 60 pixels or something, right? If I refresh, it gets big. Awesome, right? And then we would just move on with our life, right? But then the problem was, last time we talked about on Wednesday, like, oh, what if we have multiple H1s and all of them are gonna, you know, be bad, right? And then we would be like, okay, so yeah, let's just like give an ID, right? There was another way to do that, right? Here's even a slightly, I would argue, better way to do this. Using compound selectors, I could do something like this. Okay, so notice that space, it's literally header and the space. In CSS, space, that white space does matter. So, you know, if you do this, it's not going to work at all. You got to do something like this, space. Let's save it. Let's refresh it, and that we should still see the same size. What does this kind of tell you? You can kind of think about this. What does this mean? This means, okay, let's take kind of look at this. A little bit different. It's not comma, right? This is not comma. Okay, there's a big difference putting a comma here and a space here. Right? Comma means, just like up here, comma means both HTML and body, right? Both of them do padding in 0 and all that stuff. Okay? This one's a little bit different. This one is being very specific here. This one is saying, hey, go look at my header, right? My header is that big yellow thing here. Okay? Go look at my header. Okay? In this header div, in this header box, or whatever this header is, okay? If there's an H1 inside my header, go grab that and change its font size. Okay, so let's look, I'm going to scroll back down here real quick. So again, in my header, right, my header starts here, it ends here. In my header, I have one H1. So that H1, okay, it's saying go grab the H1 inside my header, right, header, where to go, and change that font size to 60. So it's being a little more specific now, right? Of course, if you had, Okay, then the problem is, what if I had 2 of these, right? And then like I didn't want like this. Yeah, so it's still gonna affect multiple, but at least it's gonna restrict it to within this area. Okay. By the way, if you only wanted the first one to work, you could also do something like this: header less than, greater than. Okay. Oh my gosh, I need to go back to 6th grade. Oh wait, is it the other way? I don't know. What? Okay, I'm pretty sure. 1 second. Okay, I am a little concerned there. Hold on, let me just. Okay, normally, maybe I'm, what am I? Okay, normally, man. Okay, so normally this would say only grab the first one, and that's the only one you should get. But okay, all right, it's fine. Okay, we will talk about pseudo selectors for that one. So anyway, so when you can do stuff like this, if you're pretty certain, like you only want, you could be a little bit specific here. If you only want your H1, that would, I think, and this is a kind of a cleaner way to write it, I think. It kind of makes more sense here. Okay. Let's try another one. Okay, my artist here, for example. Right, artists. That text artist, it's an H2 in my artists div, right? In my artists div, I have an H2, right? Let's take a look at that. So if I did, we can try that out as well. My artists with the artists H2, okay. Notice, by the way, my about is actually also an H2 as well. So if I do artists H2, I can say like, you know, text line center, let's say. Now it's gonna go to the center. Right, so my artist went to the center, but my about did not go to the center. About is still on the left side. So it's like it's a nice way to kind of try to keep things more specific, and you don't have to add IDs everywhere and all that stuff. I mean, sometimes you do still have to add, you know, IDs or something if you really need it for something, but this is just like another way to write this. So you can see how creative you can get really fast with CSS. Some people think like, oh, like programming is not a very very creative thing, but actually it is if you think about it. And not just CSS. In programming, once you learn the basics, you find out there's so many ways you can do one thing. There's so many ways you can solve one problem. This is kind of one of them. There's so many ways you can solve like problem when you have like multiple elements and stuff. There's multiple ways you can solve different problems. So it can be a pretty creative. It's actually a very creative field of work, even though it doesn't seem like it sometimes. Yeah. All right, so cool. We got that going. All right, let's see what else. Let's see, 5, and then we did. Okay, I think we got the basics. Let's go ahead and finally do stuff with these images and all that. Let's make these into nice 3-column looking things like this. All right, now let's make them into nice one row of 3 columns. All right. Okie dokes. So if you look at artist here, so a little bit different. So artists, again, artist is the whole thing. Artist it's a class because there's 3 artists. They have this background color here, this FEF color. It's this yellow color. You can kind of see it there. This yellow color is my artist. Okay, that yellow color here, and it's a div. And because divs, by default, the div goes all the way across because that's what divs do. They become as big as their container, as their parent. So it's keep going and going and going. That's what it's kind of doing. But I don't want to do that, right? I want it to be smaller. I want it to be like this small. I don't want it to be this wide here. So we gotta fix that, right? So let's go and fix that. So my artist, I'm gonna give it a width. Okay, so that I can make it smaller. I'm just picking an arbitrary, I think 300 pixel would look good. So I'm just picking it. No real problem there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, width 300 pixel. Let's see what happens when it saves. When I save, whoop. oh, what happened? My yellow box is actually all 3 yellow boxes is 300 pixels, but my image is still an issue, right? So sometimes this is annoying because like sometimes it's a lot of just trial and error. Like sometimes like things just like cascade, right? Things just have like work. Everything gets inherited. Sometimes some elements don't care. Like an image does not care how big the container is. It's gonna just do its own thing. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so images, we have to do a little bit of work here. And this is where compound selectors come really handy again. So you know, if I would have to do like image or something like with 300 pixel, right? And then now everything is fit inside my box, right? However, again, image is kind of dangerous. Like what if you have multiple images, like and all that stuff. So this is a good time to do something like this again, where because all my images are in my artist div and my artist box, I can simply do that and it will do the same thing. Okay. Something like that. Should start trying to write some notes in here. Okay, and then know that okay, so this is cool, great. However, I just want to show you another thing. What if like I want to change my width of my artist now, right? What if I want to be 500 pixels or something? What happens? My image still does not follow, right? I have to like manually go and change this. This can get very annoying very fast. And as programmers, like every letter we type is, you know, is precious. So we don't want to waste time doing this. So here's just like a little trick I want to show you. It's very useful. I use this like all the time. I almost have this code in every single page I ever make. It's something like this. Okay. I know we haven't talked about percentages yet. We'll talk more about percentages on Wednesday actually. But what does that mean? That means whatever my artist is, I'm going to save this and refresh. No matter what size my artist is, so whether it's 500, whether it's 100, notice how my image is just going to be 100% of my artist. Makes sense, right? And I hope you're starting to see a bit of this like container versus what's inside the container. We like to call this like parent and child. I know we're borrowing these from programming concepts like the parent and child. So think about this. So my artist is the parent. Okay, so it has a width. So my image is following my parents. It's listening to my parent. It's following suit or something like that. Okay, so whether it's 100, whether it's 200, it's just nice to have. I have this piece of code almost for everything. They should almost make like this just be like natively. Some argue like they should just make images do that. Like why do they even have to do this anyway? But there's also arguments against it. So anyway, so this is what you want to do. Useful compound selector here. All right, awesome. Okay, cool. All right, another thing probably useful to do right at about this time is the artist name. Right, the artist name. I want it to be text align center here. So I could do the same like compound selector stuff again in my artist div. Right, in my artist yellow box, I have a H3. Yeah, H3, and I'm gonna do text align center. Right, so then boom boom, we have a nice text line center. And you know, actually, you could do all kinds of stuff in here. I could even give it a color. I mean, why not? Let's just let's change the color. Why not? Just for fun. Right, like I could do that. Right. So I can be very specific with that particular element by using something like this, and then I don't have to worry about like other H3s. So it's rather nice. I don't know, I'm just picking orange, but probably not the best color on this, but anyway, just picking one for now. Okay. Where are we now? Okay, cool. Now we kind of got some setup going on, and I do want to emphasize the power of classes here. So notice how I have 3 artists. Like imagine having to do this 3 times. How annoying! But instead, I have a nice like class, and I just use that class, and all 3 of them have the same class and the same structure. So boom, boom, boom. You know, it makes it a lot easier. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, great. All right, now let's do this fun part here where we convert this into a row. We make all of them next to each other. We're gonna make all of these go next to each other. All right. Okay. So to make all of these go next to each other, we're going to have to do our favorite float, right? So we're going to float left, and we're going to and notice again, artists, they're all gonna float to death, meaning we're gonna squish everything to the left as possible. We're gonna make Ariana go to the left as possible. Actually, Ariana is already on the left as much as possible, right? So then next we're gonna have so then after Ariana, it's gonna be Childish Gambino as left as possible. And then if my browser is big enough, there you go. Blackpink's gonna be as left as possible. And then oh no, there's my weird issue that I talked about, right? And I think maybe some of you seen this before. Oh no, my about page, the section that comes after, the div that comes after, is trying to like fit in here as well. It's creating problems here. Uh-oh, that's not good, right? After Blackpink, I'm done with this one row. Like I only want 3 pictures in this, 3 divs in this one row, right? So after Blackpink, I'm done here. So I need to stop. I need the about to like not float. Right at this point, I need things to stop floating. Okay, it's very clear, right? So that's where in our case, what's kind of useful is I have this row div, right? We haven't talked about this yet, but we actually have this row div that's is containing my 3 divs here. So let's take a look at that. Where is it? My row, right? Row. I'm gonna do background color. I'm just gonna give it green for now, just so we can see it. Okay, so oh, you can't see it because it's kind of behind right now. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, hey, row, when I'm done, like literally when I'm done, like right over here, when I'm done. Okay, after it's done, okay, actually I want to show you this. We're going to do clear both. Okay, we're gonna clear all the floats. By the way, this actually could be clear left or clear right, but I'm doing clear both because just to cover all cases. Okay, and then we gotta actually do this. If you're wondering what the heck this is, content, we didn't really talk about it. I'm gonna just put stuff here and I'll show you what that does. Whoop. Oh, you see this little right here? Oh, yeah, you know, let me move this here a little bit. That little is the little right here. Literally, it means after, right when my row ends, right when it ends, that's what we're gonna show up. But we actually don't want anything. I just want it to be blank, so that's why I'm gonna leave it blank. So when you do after, this content thing is required, so that's why I am putting it. But I'm just gonna leave it blank, right? Okay, and then this last one is kind of weird. Again, we have to remember that when CSS was first written and like it became like a standard and everything, a lot of different browsers had their own rules. Okay, like Internet Explorer especially was like, no, we're not gonna like follow your rule. We're gonna do our own thing. So in CSS, you see a lot of like weird things. They're just hacks to help to support browsers. So luckily in 2019 we live in an age where most of the modern browsers are pretty like they are all on the same like eye level and they all kind of do the same thing. However, there are still certain things that certain browsers can't do, and this is one of them. So don't worry about what this means for right now. We'll do a display lecture not today actually, but we'll talk more about display. But for now, just take it as it is and be like, okay, I just need it because some browsers don't support the clear won't work if I don't have this. Okay. By the way, if you're ever curious, like, oh, like how do I know which one I can use and which one I can't? There's a website called caniuse.com, literally can I use, and you could actually like look it up. Oh, can I use like after or something, and then after or something, and it actually tells you, oh, IE doesn't support it, or this they support it, and all that fun stuff. Yeah. Anyway, all right, back to our code. All right. Okay, so I hope you're getting the idea behind floats now. There you go. Now we cleared it, right? So literally after the end of Blackpink, I cleared it, and now this is green because my row is green. Okay, so I have this nice big row here. Yes. Okay. Make sure you have. Oh, I've seen this a couple times. Make sure you don't have space, anything like that. Anything like this. Make sure it's all exactly the same here. And we can also ask Sophia, could you help this gentleman here real quick? Yeah, but yeah, it's yeah. Oh, you have the same problem? Tianhong, you mind helping this young lady here? Yes.
Are these pictures inclusive? Can you have them as doubles?
Oh, these actually they might, I think up to like 2 decimal points it reads it, but after that doesn't care. Yeah. Alrighty. Okay. Okay, so at this point, we have things floating. However, one extra thing I want to do is this, I want to center it, right? I want to be able to center, like, no matter what browser size it is. By the way, I'm doing this a lot, but don't worry if, like, yeah, things are going to get cut off. That's fine for right now. On Wednesday, we'll talk about how to make things look good on different screen sizes. Anyway, but for now, I want the 3 artists to always be in the center. Okay, so this is a little tricky. Some people think like, oh, is there like a float center? Oh, I wish there was. There was not, okay? Oh, like why can't I just float center and just no, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work like that, at least not yet. Maybe one day it will, but not yet. So we got to think about how do I, put all this in the center. Okay, so how to do that, the best way to do this is I need to put all 3 in the center, right? Like all 3 of them in the center. But it's kind of hard to do that. Like how do I even calculate like that kind of stuff, right? So instead of thinking of that way, we want to think in terms of boxes. Remember this green box here, this green one, right? This green one is that div with the class row. Okay, that one. Right now it's containing all three of my divs. All right. Wouldn't it be nice if I could somehow use that to like center all that, right? And the answer is yes, we can actually do this. Remember that margin left, margin right auto thing, right? Because the row is containing all of them. So if I did like, can I do like margin left auto and like margin right auto, right? Something like that. Oh, not quite. Okay. Almost. The only thing is, again, row is, notice the width, row is really wide right now. Okay. My row would need to have a smaller width. It would need to be like, right now I'm totally going to just put a random number. Okay, I'm going to just like 500. It's totally wrong, but I'm going to put 500 for now. If I do that, oh, whoa. What just happened? So my row became 500 pixels wide. Let's try to move this down a little bit. Okay. It became 500 pixels wide, and it did center, right? It did center. Cool. Okay. So a couple things happen here. It did center. Great. Awesome. However, now because the green space, there's not much space left here, right? That's why everything is gonna now start to stack again. Oh man, those finicky like divs, right? Divs really like to stack top to bottom. So if they have a chance, they'll do it, right? So okay, that means I gotta make the width bigger, right? Maybe 1,000. Okay, let's try 1,000. Oh, okay, kind of, but not quite. Right, it has some space. Right. Okay, instead of trying to guess like that, we don't have to guess. We can actually do some math here and try to figure out the width here. All right. So I know that my artists, they're all of them are 300 pixels wide. So I know that 300 times 3 is going to be 900. Voila, 900. Yay! Right. Now it looks good. It's always going to be 900 no matter what. It's going to be centered. And you can't see the green anymore because, well, the green is like, we're like at the edge. We're wrapping the 3 together. I really wish I could draw it out, but I don't think it's, anyway. Okay, almost there. Kind of there, almost there. All right. Let's a few more, just some aesthetic stuff, but again, to help us practice with making boxes and columns and stuff, let's create some gaps in between. Yeah, I think it would look nicer if we have some gaps in between each of our artists. To do that, artists, right, our artists, which one is, remember there's 2 ways to do create spacing. If I want to create gaps around each artist, which property should I use? Margin, yes, great, awesome. So if I do margin left, I'm picking some random numbers. Margin right, 10 pixels. I'm going to get a nice gap in between, right? However, bad things happened again. Right, now that I put some margins, now they all can't fit within my row anymore. So that sucks. I'm going to have to fix this. Now, instead of row being 900, it's actually going to be, so there's 10 pixels on left and right, right? So 310 plus 320. So 320 times 320 times 3 is 960. So now our width is going to have to be 960. Okay, yay. Okay. All right. But I'm going to change my mind a little bit again. Instead of, oh, by the way, my row, let's go ahead and comment that out. I don't need that background color anymore. All right. Okay, but I changed my mind again. I kind of like this like border kind of thing. It's not really a border, but it looks like a border, like this yellow border around each image. All right. I want to create some space inside. That's space inside my artist. So I can also do padding here. 15 pixel padding right, 15 pixels. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. Oh, I want some padding on top as well, maybe like, all right, padding on the top, padding on the bottom, and there you go. So I have like this kind of border thing around my artist. However, again, notice that now I have some issues again, but let's pause there for a moment. We have padding stuff going on and all that stuff. Okay. Okay, so being programmers, a lot of times we're lazy. We don't want to repeat ourselves over and over again. So instead of writing this all over, I want to show you this. There's a shorthand to write padding. Okay, instead of, if you know that all 4 values is going to be the same, you can simply do padding 15 pixels and it'll cover all 4 sides. All right, so if I save this and I refresh, it's going to be the same thing. So if I like...
What do you write? So you don't have to write all 4.
Oh, this one right here. Yeah. So say 15 pixels on all sides. You could actually be a little more specific here as well. If you do this, something like that. If you've seen something like that before, this just means this is top. It goes clockwise. Top. This is top. This is right, bottom, and left. So you could actually do like have different ones if you wanted for whatever you feel like. I don't know. If you wanted some weird different spacing, you can.
But if they were all the same, you could just have it.
Exactly. If they're all the same, why write it 4 times when you can write it once, right? Shortcut. Yeah. Oh, I'd have to show you. You might have seen something like this as well. If there's 2 values. This means the top and bottom have 10 pixels, and then the left and right have 15 pixels. So something like that. Yeah. But okay. Yeah, we love to do a lot of shorthand because that's kind of the point of writing programs, right? So that we don't have to do things over and over again. So that's why we write programs. That's why we write loops and functions.
So did you say that the first number is the top and bottom, or?
If you see like just 2 values like this, yeah. Yeah, I should write that. This adds padding on all 4 sides. Okay. Okay, cool. We're slowly getting there. Okay, almost there. Okay, but however, again, we have this issue of my div going to the next row, right? Because we don't have enough room. So I got to fix my row a little bit again, probably. Or I could also fix my width. I mean, it doesn't quite matter what you fix at this point, but I'm going to go ahead and fix my row. So instead of 960, now we got to do a little bit, there's a little bit more going on. We got our margin, right? We have our margin, we have our padding, and then we have the width, and then we have the padding again, and then we have the width, the margin. Okay, and then we have 3 of these. Yep, it's, oh my gosh, where's it going? There's times 3. Right, it's going to be 10, 50. Right? Oh my gosh, I think so. Yeah. There you go. If it's like off, if you feel like it's off centered, like let's say I accidentally calculated wrong, it's 1,000 or something, like or even like 1,060 even. Like if it's a little, you can tell that's a little off centered. Actually, you can't tell too much here. But if you feel like it's off centered, it means you did some math wrong. So just keep that in mind. While we're here, so we got this down. While we're here, I want to add some spacing. I want to add some spacing a little bit on the bottom. Like notice how like this is way too close to the bottom here. I can do that as now because we have all this like all these boxes going on. I can simply do like artists, or do I have artists yet? No, I don't. Artists, right? That entire div. I can say like, oh hey, padding bottom. Let's give it like a lot of padding so we have this nice space here now. right? So it's kind of nice to have like these boxes now, if you think about it. Like, so we have this big artist div, and inside, again, we have the row, right? So having a boxes and having sections allows us to control them very well. Okay. All right, and then again, while we're here, let's just finish up some little touches here and there. Let's look at our the artist name. Notice that there's like a lot of spacing, and actually, if you kind of look closely, like the spacing on top is less than the spacing on the bottom. It's a little like there's some oddities going on there. Okay, so sometimes you are going to run into this, and you just at a certain point you have no idea what the heck's going on, and you're just kind of frustrated, right? So this is where I want to introduce you to something called Dev Tools or Developer Tools on Chrome. I'm using Chrome, but all the browsers have it. So Safari has it. Firefox has their own version. But let me show you what this looks like. If I right-click anywhere on the page, you're going to see Inspect here for Chrome, or Inspect Element or something like that. If you don't see that, there's also up on top, there's a View, Developer, and it says Dev Tools. You can do that as well, whichever one floats your boat. I'm going to go ahead and just right-click and click on Inspect. Right? When I click on Inspect, you're going to see this thing pop up. Okay? And it can be a little annoying, so just you see these 3 dots here? If you click on those 3 dots and you go to the right, you can always like move it around to however you like. You can even pop it out if you want. I'm going to keep it at the bottom just because I think it's going to, I think it'll be nice to be at the bottom. Okay? And then if you click on this elements here, notice how this is your entire HTML over here. All HTML you wrote. Okay, and what's really nice about this is it helps you really figure out what's what. So if I hover over header, notice how header is that it's kind of hard to see on the screen here, but it highlights my header. And if I scroll down, if I hover over artist, it's my entire artist is taken. So you can kind of see like it visually it helps you see what's going on. So let's look at I could even click on this little arrow thing here and I could say, hey, like what's going on with my header? Oh, whoa. Okay, look, there's some orange space that you see there, right? And notice how okay, so Ariana Grande, right? If I click on her, and notice also on this right side, notice how it says artist H3 and it says like text align center color orange, right? This is all the code we wrote. So this is showing you that H3 has these CSS property and values applied to it. We could do whatever the heck we want with it and all that. And this, if I scroll down a little bit, it actually also shows you, oh, what is this? User agent style sheet. Okay, that means those are default properties. It's saying, hey, H3 is coming actually with all these margins. So that space that's been created is being created by the default margins here. So using this tool, I'm figuring out what's going on with my code. So knowing that, then, oh, okay, with CSS, again, we can override anything, which is both a curse and a blessing, or a blessing and curse. I can just say, hey, you know what? I don't want that spacing there. I'm just going to say margin, you know, get rid of any default stuff you come with. Get rid of any default stuff you come with. You know, we're just going to override. Okay. And now, whoa, now they're gone. Okay, and then the only spacing, we see the spacing on the bottom is because of our padding 15 pixel from our artist. Okay. Right, so when things don't look quite right and you're having problems, try popping open the inspect element tool. This is extremely helpful to kind of see what's going on. You can like see like, oh, like there's margins and like right, like there's like what's happening, and this right panel is really great to show you what's going. You could even like turn this on and off temporarily, just like test some of your CSS properties, just like this, like boom, boom, like, oh, what does it look like orange? Oh, what about, hey, I wonder how it looked like with green. You know, like you can actually just type stuff in, and like it's a quick way to just test things really fast. It's a very nifty tool. Okay. All right, I'm looking at this again. I kind of want some space on top of Ariana Grande. So maybe it's okay to have a little bit of space here. Maybe I'll do like 5 pixels on margin top. And then, yeah, maybe do something like that. Okay. Or maybe 10.
So you can imply that one for padding the same margin choose all the margin.
They're like, yeah, or padding 0 or whatever. You're padding left, padding right. Yep. Any questions so far? All right, now let's switch gears so we get this how to make columns again. Awesome. Now let's talk about hover effects. All right, so for your lab, by the way, which is due Tuesday night, you're going to be gathering some photos, just like how I gathered some photos. You're going to be creating rows and columns. You're going to create at least 2 rows, and you're going to create columns. However you like. You just have to have a minimum 5, so you could do like 3 and 2, or 2 or 3, or however you want to do it. And you're gonna add these hover effects, and that's gonna be your lab. It shouldn't. The hard part is probably finding pictures, like pictures that you want to use, you know. So anyway, so let's try that out now in our hover. Okay. Where are we? So we got this, we got that. Hover. Okay, cool. We're going to use something called pseudo selectors, which actually we've seen before. This kind of stuff, this colon, this is a pseudo class. It just explains, it's just a pseudo class because it's not really a class. It just kind of helps with your class, I guess. I don't know, that's the best way I can explain it. All right, so let's try this. So when I hover, right, when I hover over, let's think about it, how we want to design this. So when I hover over this div, okay, I want that yellow, it changes to black, right? The yellow is coming from the background color of this div, right? So when I hover over, I want to change the background color to black. All right, okay. So when I hover over, let's think about this. When I artist hover, okay, right? When I hover over my artist, okay, and again, background color by default is yellow, that yellow color, but I'm going to change it to background color black. I really want to get rid of this. So, okay. Anyway, so, but this is a key here. So, right, when I hover over artist, I want my background color to be black. Okay. Pretty simple. So this, what's going to happen is my background color here, that yellow one, is going to get overwritten to black. But only when I hover, though. Okay, for key thing, right? All right, go ahead, save this. Okay, when I hover over the box, oh, not this one. Sorry, this one. Now it's yellow. I mean black. Black. Cool. You might also think, well, what about the name of the artist? Let's change that color too. Like, can we change that to, you know, can I change that to color white or something? Okay, let's try that out. Yeah, you would think like, oh, like, you know, my if I hover over artist, just change the color to white, right? Let's take a look at that. It's actually not going to work. Interesting. Right? This is where CSS is doing its being CSS-y. Remember this artist H3? Do you remember how we have that set to color orange? Okay. And so it looks like what's happening is even if I hover, think about it, when I hover over the artist is very generic, right? The artist is actually this yellow container here. This, on the other hand, is very specific, right? We're saying in the artist, look for the H3. That H3 has that color orange. It's super specific, right? So this is going to win this hover here. Even if I put this hover here, by the way, you might be wondering, oh, what, can I just put it like after? Even if I did that, it's still going to be orange. Okay, so that it's less specific. We're going to have to do something like this. So this isn't going to work. So we're going to do something like this then. Over here, I'm going to do, and in this case, the order is not going to matter too much. So when I still need to do this. When I hover over my artist, okay, when I hover over my artist, I'm going to do space, and then I'm going to do H3. Ah, yeah. So it's kind of weird looking, but I hope you understand what's going on, right? Artist is my container, it's my parent, right? Okay, so when I hover over my parent, I still know what my parent is. In that parent, look for an H3, right? Look for an H3 in there, and then change that one to white, I guess. Okay, so we're going to be overwriting my orange here. We're going to be overwriting. That's the key thing here. We're going to overwrite this orange. Okay, so I've saved. There you go. Now it's white. Hooray. Okay, back to my code. Missed it. CSS is wonderful sometimes and terrible sometimes. Anyway, any questions about that? Okay, cool. Okay, just for fun, I want to show you one more thing. You've seen something like this before. I'm going to go ahead and put it in my hover. You've seen this, right, where when you hover, you like see the pointer instead. You've seen this little thing. That's actually, you can do that with CSS. You can do cursor pointer like that. Just put it on the default one, the artist hover. By the way, there's actually a lot of interesting ones here. You can actually do cursor like weight, for example, and look what happens. You're gonna get the beach ball of death, and people are gonna leave your website because they don't want to wait. Right, so there's a couple out there. I just remember I just don't remember what it's called, but yeah. So you can pointer is good, usually good for like hover kind of effects. Anyway, so. Right. Any questions about that? Hover. Fun. Hover is fun. Yes?
Are there limitations to what you can reference with hover? Like, can you do it with classes and IDs?
Yeah, you could do it with IDs, any like selectors that we talked about. So any like IDs, even like tags. You could actually do like body and like color green or something like hover. You can actually do that, and then which is weird. Why would you ever do that? But now when I oh my gosh, so now every time I just go over the body, it's gonna change coloring. Yeah. So you can, yeah. Good question. Yeah. Any other questions? Alrighty, moving on to our final piece of this page. The final thing we want to talk about. So we're learning a lot about just different CSS stuff. So the last thing we're going to learn is CSS positions. Okay. So like I mentioned, so in here now, so far we've been doing, again, very good at doing top to bottom, left to right. Right, we're very good at doing top to bottom, left to right. What about things on top of each other? Okay, the z-axis. 3D, three-dimensional, if you will. Another word, people, if you've done any like Photoshop or any kind of graphic stuff before, you might have heard the term layering. That's kind of what we're doing here. We're like layering things on top of each other. So let's go ahead and learn that a little bit. But I did have to warn you, just like with floats, you know how weird things happen when we went out of the normal flow. We did floats and stuff. Similarly, when we start doing positions, some things can get really wonky really fast. So I just want to make sure you're cautious when you're working with positions, and you really want to understand what's happening when we're doing positions. A lot of times people like just write whatever and they just try to make it work, and then more things break. So don't be like one of those people. Let's really try to understand what these positions are doing. All right, so let's look at, if you scroll down a little bit before we jump into the date part, we're going to scroll down just a little bit so we can get a really solid understanding of what's happening with positions. If you look at in the about page, wow. The yellow on the projector is really ugly. On my laptop, it looks a lot better. Anyway, see that orange? The orange, the yellow, the green. Notice it says stuff. It says like, I'm a relative div, I'm an absolute div, I'm a fixed div, right? There it is. We have 3 divs there. If you scroll down in your CSS as well, you're gonna see like around 90-ish, line 90-ish. You're going to see relative div, absolute div, fixed div. And notice how I'm giving them those colors. Okay, so they're ordinary divs. They're not nothing special. They just have a background color right now. Okay, so let's talk about position. So when I want to put something on top of something, how do I do that? Luckily, there is a CSS property called position for that sort of stuff. Okay. Oh, position. There it is. So by default, all the elements have a position called static, which means nothing's happening. All right. But this is the first one I want to talk to you about. Position relative. Okay. And when I do position relative, I can now do stuff like this. Okay. I can do something like this. I'm just gonna pick a number right now. Top 100 pixels. Right, let's see what happens. I'm going to save, refresh. Oh, maybe I should make this. What just happened? Oh, my relative div, that orange div, it moved down 100 pixels. So the top is moving its top position. And also another key thing to notice, my orange div is on top of my text in the background. See that? It became its own dimension or its own axis. However you understand how that works, or it's its own layer is another way to think about it. Okay. Makes sense. So this is kind of neat. So if we could do top, we could actually do left as well. We can say like, oh, move it left 100 pixels. So move its left position 100 pixels. We can do that as well, right? And it's always going to be on top. Key thing on top. Right. So this position relative puts things on top, but key thing also here is it used to be up here, right? So move top 100, left 100. By the way, you could also do negative values, right? You could do negative values as well. And all that fun stuff. Okay, so if you want to put something on top of something, this is like one way to do it. But that's not all. There's a little more. Let's look at the absolute one. Let's look at the red div here. Get your attention to the red div here. If I do position, all right, here's another one. There's a position called absolute. Okay, position absolute is a little bit different from relative. That's why I'm showing you all these different ones. If I do absolute, the value absolute, what happens? Boom. First things first, the width just like changed. Notice how like width of width just kind of shrunk. Okay, so that's what part of the absolute div means. The absolute div is like total. Think of it as a very rebellious child. It's just like, nope, I have absolute authority, so I'm just gonna do whatever I want, kind of thing. It's extremely it doesn't play well with others. Actually, well, I mean, of course, you could always. By the way, you could always give it width if you need to. You could always force it width. So, okay. And key thing, notice how the red automatically went on top of my green div right there. Okay, but here's another interesting thing about absolute. Let's try the top 100 pixel again and left 100 pixel again, just like our relative div. Right, let's go and do that. Save, refresh. Oh, where'd it go? It's actually up here. Whoa. And notice how it's on top. Again, it's on top. It's going above, on top of my header, that yellow gradient header thing. It's way up here. Okay. But we were wondering, okay, why is it top left? Okay, so with absolute, it's a little bit different. With absolute divs, point of reference is the browser. Okay, what does that mean? That means, so my browser starts here, right? So top left means top 100 pixel and left 100 pixel from the browser. So if I did top 0, left 0, it will look like that. Makes sense. Right? And then if I scroll, but it's gonna just stay there. It's always gonna stay there, and it's gonna be on top of everything else. It's gonna be on top. So I could even do like bottom, bottom right or something, bottom left or something, and it's gonna go to bottom left of my browser. Okay, it's just gonna be there. Okay, cool. Last thing, fixed. So that's absolute for you. Absolute is, again, think of it as a kind of a rebellious child. It just kind of does what it wants. Fixed is actually not too much different. Fixed div, let's scroll down to this green one. This is the last one we want to do, the green one. Okay, let's give this guy fixed, position fixed. That's the last one of the 3. Okay, actually there is one more position. It's kind of new, but there's this position called sticky, but we're not gonna talk about that one because it's still pretty new. Okay, if I save this, fixed div. Oh my gosh, where'd it go? I don't even know where it went actually. I think it went, it just kind of disappeared. Let's give it a width. Okay. Same, like maybe, okay, maybe like 100 pixel. Let's give it a height as well, just so we can see it. And then I'm gonna do top 100 pixels again, and then left 100 pixels again. Okay, and then if I refresh, oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. So it's still the same. It's in reference to the browser, right? 100 pixels top from the browser, 100 pixels left from the browser. But the thing about fixed is it's gonna stay fixed, no matter how much I scroll. So you know, like those annoying ads you see when you're visiting websites and just keep following you around, even though you want to watch it, you don't want to watch the ad. That's what they're doing. They're doing position fixed. Okay. Or if you've seen those website with like a menu bar on the top and it follows you even though you scroll, they're doing that as well. And again, the cool part about this, more than the position stuff, is again it's going on top of everything else. Okay, the green div is on top of everything else. It's on top. It's above Ariana Grande. It's above my yellow div here. Like it's becoming its own axis. So you want to think about that. Okay. So knowing these things, now that we kind of have an understanding of what is like what is what. So again. Right, now that we have an understanding of kind of all these things, let's finally do what we want to do is I want to add this date on the top right corner here of each artist. Okay, so before I even do any CSS, I gotta go back to my HTML. And let's think about where I want to put the dates. I think structurally it just kind of makes sense that we just stick it in my artist div. All right, so we have all these artists, we have an image and H3. Let's put the date in here because it kind of makes sense, right? I want the date associated with each artist. I think it makes sense. So I'm gonna put it in there, and you're gonna see that this is gonna end up helping us a lot more than just because it's nice. Okay, so I'm gonna just create another div because ultimately, like, what am I doing? I'm just creating another box basically, right? I just want a box with some date on it. So I'm gonna put a div and another div, and I'm gonna give it like a class called date or something. Okay, and then I'm gonna just type the date in here. So for Ariana Grande, she is performing on April 14th and 21. Okay, so that's Ariana Grande. I'm gonna just copy this div over here. I'm gonna stick it in this one as well. Oh, Childish Gambino is performing on April 12th and the 19th. Right, okay, so we're still kind of following that same idea. We're, okay, again, artist, big artist div, and the artist, we have the image, the artist name, and then we have a date. All right, next one, date again, I believe Blackpink is the same day as, there you go. Okay, so again, good. Save. If I refresh, okay, cool, there it is, there's my dates. And it makes sense my dates show up like this, right, because they're, again, everything is top to bottom by default. So we have the image, where'd it go? We have the image first, right under that is Ariana's name, and then it's the date. Okay, makes sense because that's how we do things. All right, cool. So far everything makes totally sense. Everything is awesome. Let's go to, now we got to do some styling. Let's go and make this thing look more like a date thing rather than all this crazy stuff. Where is my artist? Let's see. Let's put it after H3. So I have artist H3. I'm just trying to. CSS, as you can see, can get messy really fast. There's a lot of like standards on how to organize your CSS, blah, 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 but we're not going to worry about that just now. For now, let's just try to make things work, and then later we'll talk about how we're going to organize CSS code a little better. All right, artist. Okay, in my artist is my date element, that class, so I could do this as well. Okay, so because I have this, I'm going to go and start adding some styles in here now. Where is it? Okay, let's look at this. So I'm gonna have like just kind of following what this guy is here. I want to do a background color white, right? Let's do background color white, right? Let's do border. I'm gonna give it like a solid 2 pixels, kind of like that, right? Like a border, right? Like a border, right? Maybe give some. Maybe do like a text align. You know, make all my text go to the center. Maybe add some padding, like padding top. or something like that. Okay, cool. Oh, maybe, let's make it bold. Like, let's make the date itself, let's make it bold. So anything in the date, anything inside my date, I'm gonna make it bold, right? Okay, alrighty. Okay, and I can do like width, height, all that fun stuff. I'm just gonna, yeah, I can do width, height, and all that. Okay, and let's think about, okay, how now can I, now that I kind of have a style a little bit, how can I put this on top, right, on the top right corner? Like, how can I kind of pull it up, right? So we've examined several different ways, right? We talked about, how about position relative, right? We're like, can we, like, how can I make it? How about position relative? Let's try that out. I think position relative might work if I do like negative, I don't know, 50 pixels. I'm totally mixed here. Okay, like I can maybe do something like this, like 100, like keep trying to kind of guesstimate, right? Like 140, right? I'm just guessing kind of right now, right? Okay, that's one way. Okay, we're just covering all the options because I do want to show you the thought process here. Okay, relative could work. Okay, all right. Let's try absolute. I don't think fixed would work. Is not a good solution. So let's try absolute. Okay, would absolute work? Let's try that. Position absolute, right? And let's do like top 100 pixels or something. But whoa, it's like way up there, right? Oh, what the heck? Okay. Anyway, did I do something wrong here? Okay, anyway, right, but then this gets weird too. It's like, what the heck? How do I, like, how am I gonna, right? I gotta keep, like, I gotta just guesstimate, right? And that's kind of a terrible waste. Sometimes there are times where you want to eyeball things, but okay, this kind of was good. Okay, how about we do like left, like 100 pixel or something. Oh wait, the other way, like, but this kind of sucks, right? Like, this is gonna take you forever. What the heck? Where'd it go? Right? This kind of takes, yeah, like weird things happen, right? This is not a good idea either. Okay, so maybe relative is better. All right, there's a lot of like different things to think about. However, I'll tell you the best way, especially with something like this. The best way to handle a situation like this, where you want something on top of another thing, but you have some guidelines, we can do something like this. So my artist, right? And so with absolute, my point of reference is the browser, right? So when I do top 303 pixel, I'm saying top from the browser, right? Well, I think what would be really great is if I could make the yellow box itself be the point of reference, right? So if I do top right of my yellow box, not top right of my browser, okay? So we can do that. Pretty simple. To do that, we go to my artist. Where's my artist? Oh my god, there's so much stuff here. Where's my artist? I have an artist somewhere, don't I? Yes, there's my artist. Okay. Oh no, not artist, not that one, not that one. Not that. That's a big. That's like the grandmother, the grandfather. Okay, the artist, right? The artist is my yellow box. Remember, it's my parent. It's the mama. It's a papa. It's the parent. Okay. What we're gonna do is we're going to make and we're going to do position relative on this person, this parent, on this div. Seems a little strange why, but bear with me for now. Okay, position relative. Okay, and then when I scroll all the way down to my, I lost the artist date. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I comment all these other guys. I'm gonna do position absolute. All right, let's see what happens. We're leaving a position absolute. Let's see what happens. Kind of weird things happen, but let's go and do top 0 pixel, right 0 pixel, and we have our winner. There it is. Okay, so what is this doing? So it's still absolute. Okay, it's still date is still position absolute. So it's still doing like weird things. However, what's nice about this right now is that my artist, okay, the yellow, has this position relative, which makes the artist be the point of reference now. Okay, so if you will, your artist, again, the way that we structure our code is the artist is the parent. We call this parent. Okay, kind of like back in your OOP program, object-oriented program days, right? This is like your parent or your inheritance days, right? This is your parent here, and this artist has 3 children: image, age 3, and div. All right, so it's saying now the artist is saying, I have some boundaries now. I have I'm gonna be your point of reference. So when date becomes position absolute, now it's top right is here. If I did top left, it would be there, right? Makes sense? So on and so forth. Questions? Is it any questions? Confusing? Makes sense? Hopefully, visually. Okay. Okay, now for the hover, the finale. We need to add the hover effect. Okay, when I hover, I want to, I don't know why that's disappearing. Okay, I'm not sure why the date is disappearing right now. I'll come back to it in a second. But, oh, this! Oh my gosh. So yeah, be careful sometimes. Remember artist hover? I said, make the color white. Remember that? I was trying to like make the H3 color white, but then it's still this. So this is getting affected. That's why it looks like it's disappearing, but it's not. It's actually the color white. Oh my gosh, amazing! All right, I'm gonna comment that out. Wow. Right. So CSS, we love it, you hate it. Okay, now it'll be fine. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the very last thing is I want to do the hide show effect here. Let's go back, let's go down to artist date, there we are, we're still at artist date. Okay, so by default, when I first load the page, by default, I want to hide the date. Right, that's what I want to do. So by default, I want to hide my date. I'm going to do, yeah, I'm totally blanking. All right, so there's 2 ways you can hide things. I'll just show it to you for now. There's something called visibility hidden. All right, pretty straightforward. That means it's hidden. So if I refresh right now, it's gonna be gone. Hidden. There's also opacity, but anyway, the 2 things we want to. Another thing is display none. Also hides things. Okay. So isn't that very convenient? CSS allows us to hide things pretty easily. Okay, so it's hidden. It's gone. Okay. You might be wondering what the difference between the 2 is. Okay. It's a little hard to tell on this demo here, but let me just show you real quick back in our slides just to show you what the display looks like. Just real quick. Not that one. Okay, so what displays does actually is it hides when you put something to display none, it actually completely hides away, like it almost removes that element off your page. Versus visibility, it actually it's going to leave that space there. Okay, anyway, we'll come back. You will get a chance to play around with that one. All right, so we'll come back here. All right, so we're gonna do. I'm gonna stick with visibility. I did want to show display. Okay, so what happens is that when I hover over, I want it to show up again. Right, so we gotta go back to our hover thing again. Where let's see, where's like a good place? Maybe we'll just put it. Oh, we'll just put it after artist date. Okay, we'll just put it after artist. Okay, so let's do this. When I hover over artist, okay, same deal. Date is inside my artist, right? Date is a child of my artist, so I can just do date, and then I can just say visibility. Okay, the opposite of hidden is like show, but it's actually visible in this case. Okay, so if I refresh now, I get a Boop, boop. Yay. Yes.
So if we had done, like, obviously this would, doesn't apply to this page, but in the example that you showed, if we were doing hover with the display, would it have to push content down in order to show?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. So in this case, we can't quite see it because we're putting like things on top of each other. Yeah. But for display, yeah, it would actually like push it down. Yeah. Alrighty. Any questions? Okay, I'm gonna take that as that everybody understood everything, and that you guys are good to go. So that's kind of it for today. So again, we have a lab today. You can, if you want to spend some time and get started on it now, you can. I'm gonna stick around. If you have any questions, feel free to come by. Pick minimum 5 pictures around some theme. Create columns, create rows, create like you can kind of use off what we did in class. But like I mentioned in my Piazza post, don't just like, copy paste and then copy this whole thing and write it. At least like, again, get in the habit of typing things out so you understand what's going on. And then add your hover effect, and then that's it. Just go and upload it. You do have until tomorrow night, so you do have some time. But if you want to just knock it out today, that would be amazing, right? So what you want to do is when you're done with it, don't forget you gotta upload it. Don't forget to upload your images. There was like a few of you last night emailing me. If you can't, don't forget to upload your images. And then when you're done, you want to put your a link to your lab under the lab section, right? Just like how you did it for your assignment section, you want to put it there. All right. The T's are gonna start grading this week, so we're gonna try to get your assignment 1 graded at A's and lab 1, of course, as soon as possible. All right, that's it, guys. Good luck. Oh, your assignment, if you're wondering what the next assignment is, it's coming. I just found some errors. I gotta fix a little bit. But assignment 2 is gonna be very similar to what we did today. And on Wednesday, we'll talk about responsive web design and how to make things look good across all browsers like this. Okay, have a great day. I'll see you on Wednesday.